Okay, so this was just a quick demo of getting started with your phase 5 project. Hey, open mics. Hey, mechanical typers.
Oh, sorry.
Just teasing you, but I do appreciate it. Um, so when we're here, we're starting our new phase 5 project. So all we're really going to need to do is generate a new Rails application in API mode. And within that Rails application, generate a React app inside of a client folder. So those are the two main tasks ahead of us, but we'll also do a little bit of tweaking settings and stuff to prepare us for cookies and sessions and things like that. And since all of these projects require a user, we'll also walk through creating a user as well. So let's get started. I'm going to say Rails new. Give me an app idea and please don't say Pegly.
Footly. It's about sharing foot pics
Oh,
Oh,
for
God.
money.
oh, I'm supposed to put this on my YouTube, guys.
I was thinking of a storefront. Like that's always like the most
Storefront.
common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's think. What storefront have I always wanted to have? There's a lot of different shops I've always wanted
Feet.
to have. Eating, fooding.
Feet.
No, I'm not
Amazonly.
selling. Oh God.
How about like a food truck?
Food
You
truck.
could sell you like a D&D, right?
I'm a big fat fucking nerd, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so like what about like D&D miniatures or something? You could sell them there.
Okay. All right. We'll make but I do like food trucks too. All right, I'm gonna go with nerdy shit. So what can we call our nerdy store? I'm gonna call it let me think. Mm,
I don't know, something simple like mini shop. I don't know.
Why do you gotta make it simple though? I always gotta try to be extra. All right. Figs. Figs and dice.
I like that.
Okay. So we got our application name. I'm also going to, maybe I should do it with dashes instead of underscores. All right, let's do dashes. I'm going to add the tag API. I'm also going to skip setting up my database as Postgres since that's caused a lot of problems. In our development environment, we're going to stick with SQLite and then we'll switch later to make our production environment Postgres. But for making our lives less headache while we're working on it, we're going to stick with SQLite. So the next tags I'm going to add, they're optional. They just lighten up the load a little bit. They remove Ruby and Rails documentation from the application. So I'm going to say no dash RI, that's Ruby instructions or something like that. And no dash RDoc, which is Rails documents. And finally, I'm going to end it with a dash capital T, which means no test framework ever, so that when I run generations in Rails, I don't need to use that no test framework tag. It just won't make tests at all for this application, or won't automate tests, I should say. All right, so that's everything we need to get started to set up our backend Rails application. I'm going to go ahead and press enter, let that build itself out. All right. It's doing its thing. It's going ahead and installing the gem file. Okay. So we've got our new application, Figs and Dice. While I'm at it, let me go ahead and add my front end to this as well. And I'm going to say npx create React app. And this is going to automatically create a new app called client, which is what we needed to do really, because what we really want is our application to be in a folder named client. So this is like a two birds with one stone maneuver here. I fucked up though. I didn't CD down into my app. So now I'm creating client on the outside. I'm gonna have to redo this, but on the inside. I think I can cancel it. Yeah, with Control C. So let me go ahead and delete that. And let me CD down into my new Rails application and run that command again. All right, that's doing its thing. While it's working, let's go ahead and make the tweaks we need to make. In our gem file, we're going to want to uncomment decrypt and put it back in line because this is going to help us encrypt our passwords. I'm also going to, let's see, I've got my Rails, I've got ByBug. Let me just double check. I feel like there's something missing here. So I'm going to go look at a past projects gem file real quick. All right, active model serializers. That's the one I want. Okay, so these are the two most important ones. You can see here, I'm also thinking about implementing image uploading. So I was going to use the Cloudinary gem. And because this project uses Postgres, I needed the gem.env to securely protect my backend database passwords. So I can record them inside of my project without pushing them up. But this isn't what we're going to need to worry about for now. Just have it on your radar that .env is a thing you need when you use Postgres, and Cloudinary is for image uploading. Okay, so all we needed to really add was active model serializers here. I've got my gem file saved. I'm going to run bundle install again. Okay, now my backend is ready for me to start generating things. Before I go ahead and do that, let me go ahead and clean up my front end as well. In my client folder, I'm going to start by deleting all the unnecessary stuff out of the public and source folders. Out of the public folder, I like deleting the default logos because those aren't my logos. I also, I leave the fave icon because it's an easily replaceable file that you can just save your own fave icon over, but that's like on my radar that I'm going to want to do that. And a fave icon is when you're on the web, it's this icon that shows up here. This is the default one. When a website doesn't have one, it shows as a little globe, but you can see GitHub has their Octocat. All these websites have their own fave icon. Okay. So I'll leave that for now, but I'm going to want to update it in the future. Since I just deleted those logo files, I'm going to have to edit the manifest.json to tell it to stop looking for them. I've gone ahead and left the reference to the fave icon intact. I'm going to change the name of React app to Figs and Minis. Or no, it's Figs and Dice. And then the full name, I can say Figs and Dice. Okay, so that's my manifest updated. Next thing I'm going to do is look in my index.html. I'm going to delete the reference to the logo here. I'm also going to delete all of the commented out notes and stuff. I feel like it's just tangling it up for me. It's not really doing me any good. The last thing I'm going to change in here is going to change React app to Figs and Dice. So that when it shows up on the web page, this part doesn't just say React app, it actually says Figs and Dice up here in the tab. Okay. So that's everything we need to do here for the index.html for now. Next, I'm going to clean up my source folder. I'm going to go ahead and delete app.css. I want to delete app.test.js. I'm going to delete logo.svg, as well as report web vitals and setup tests. Those all get deleted. You can also safely delete the README because you've already got your top level README that's going to handle the description of your application for you. So we don't need two READMEs here, just one on the top level. All right, with all those things deleted, I'm going to have to make some edits to my index.js and my app.js. Index.js is still looking for report web vitals. I want to delete that. And delete the reference to it on line 16 as well. All right, that's everything I need to get clean in index.js. Let's move over to app.js. Here, I'm going to remove the import of app.css and the logo that I deleted. And I'm going to delete everything inside of the div. And I'm just going to leave myself a note. This is the app component for the future. So simplified it all the way down, like it's starting really fresh without any junk getting in the way. I'm also going to clear out the index.css file so I can start fresh there as well. Okay, everything's clean now here. Next, we're going to be editing the package.json file. I want to delete the testing libraries. That's lines 6 through 8. I'm also going to delete the web vitals. Don't want to keep track of that. And instead, I'm going to keep track of React Router DOM. And the newest version of that, let's go ahead and look back at some more recent work, is upwards of 6.2.0. So I'm going to go ahead and use that version as well. Okay. And looking back at my other project, I have these other packages, React Bootstrap, React Scripts. These are just extra things that you can implement if you're going to go with Bootstrap for your front end. I'm not going to be opinionated about that at this time, but you can definitely add them in like this. What's the difference between Bootstrap and React Bootstrap? React Bootstrap is an additional component library built on base Bootstrap. And what React Bootstrap allows you to do is stuff like this. Let me just go ahead and show you folks an example. If we look at the nav section here, I am importing from React Bootstrap the navbar component, the container component, and the nav component. And I'm using these external components inside of my nav section component. So it's just another way to implement Bootstrap with React. I hadn't really done it this way before, so I thought I'd experiment with it. Okay. We don't need to worry about that when we're just setting up. We can make those design choices later on down the line. The last thing I'm going to want to do here before I wrap up my package.json file is in the start under scripts, I'm going to change the default port 4000. Oh, and one other thing, I want to set up a proxy in this package.json. Let's go ahead and I want to double check. Yep, you can set up your proxy to be localhost 3000. So you shouldn't theoretically have to keep referring to your localhost throughout your application. You can just refer to things by their true endpoints. So let me go ahead and I'm going to copy that proxy, just paste it right in. One thing to note is that because this is a JSON file, there are certain rules that must be adhered to. You can never have trailing commas at the end of an object. So if I do this, it gets angry. You see it turned red up here and it's like, nah, no trailing commas and everything must be in quotes. Like every key must be in string format. Okay. That's going to be everything we need to set up for our front end as well. Let me go ahead and run that now. I'm going to say npm install. I'm going to say prefix client. I want it to believe that like I'm in the client folder. So pretend I'm in the client folder and run npm install on the package .json that's inside that client folder. Okay, all of that's run, everything's set up and ready to go in that case. So with my front end and my back end ready to receive, let's go ahead and give it some data. I'm going to go ahead and build out a base user model, and as well as the relative controllers, and set it up to use a secure password. And we're also going to set up our backend for handling cookies and sessions and stuff, as well as being able to get around CORS issues. So this is the last little bit of cleanup. I think before I generate, I'm going to fix that CORS issue and modify some things to allow for our sessions. So when we're doing sessions, that's going to be in the config folder in application.rb. We're going to add some middleware to this area. I'm going to go ahead and copy this from a previous application, but there's other places where we can find that information. If we go back to our notes, I believe we recorded it in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at Slack. And if I check our notes here, where are they? Oh, here they are. We can refer back here. And here we have our Rails API cookies and sessions. And we've spelled it out where we need to add middleware stuff and which files to add them to. So we have a reference here, but I'm just going to copy and paste from an old program. So I'm going to go ahead and check out the application.rb inside of the config folder. And I'm going to copy these lines here. I'm going to go ahead and paste them into my new figs and dice application.rb file. Okay. That's all I need to do there. There's one other place I need to modify things. Let's check our notes. Yep, in controllers, the application controller, we have to include that action controller cookies middleware. I'm just going to go ahead and copy it from our notes this time. I'm going to go ahead and add that into our project. So I'm going to go to app controllers, application controller. I go ahead and add that there to allow us to have cookies and sessions. All right. That's all we need there. There's one last thing we need to do, I believe, for setting up our cores. That would be in our gem file. I forgot to uncomment this earlier. We're going to uncomment the gem rat cores. And I believe, let's see, which file do we edit that in? Is it an environment.rb? No. Is it in our controllers? No. My memory's slipping. Is it in our record model? No. It's not in controllers. It's not in our model. It's not in our client. It's not in DB. It must be config. Where is it? And we're back. I paused recording for a second so we could add this to our notes to make it easier to find in the future. But here's how we're going to tackle rat cores. In config initializers cores.rb, we can add more middleware. And I'm just going to go ahead and I can copy that right in to our document. There it is. All right. So we've just commented rat cores back in here, and we've added some cores middleware to our document here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of their example and just keep my stuff here. All right. So now that that's all set up, I did update the gem file. So I'm going to go ahead and run bundle install again. Okay, and now I think we're really ready to start generating a new user. Everything is set up now. We shouldn't have any CORS issues. We're set up for sessions now. We have everything we need to serialize our data when we're sending it up to the front through our endpoints. I think that's most of my mental checklist here. Let's see if I'm right. So I'm going to start with generating users. So I'm going to say Rails G resource. This is Rails G resource user. And I can start naming some attributes of the user here. I'm mainly concerned, I should say, about getting two particular attributes sent back to my user table. That's a username and a password digest, and only those two. Those two are required for authentication to work. So let me go ahead and get those in. I can add more attributes and columns in the future if I like. But I know I'm going to need at least these. Let's talk for a minute about the password digest. Password digest is going to be, oops, what's going on here? That's strange. Oh, I see Rails application dot config. All right. Let's update that in our notes as well. Okay. So this works now. Let's try doing that one more time. All right, good. No worries there. Right, so that's gone ahead and done some stuff for us, created our migrations, created our user model. Now our user model, we're going to have to tweak that in one very important way to use password encryption. We're going to have to add the tag has secure password. So if I go up into my app and I look at the models and I get at the user model, I'm going to add this has secure password tag. What this is going to allow us to do is that from the front end, we'll be sending back a whole password as well as possibly a password confirmation when the user is creating their profile for the first time. And since it's not secure to save that whole password, we're going to be automatically making sure that the password and the password confirmation match on creation. And if they do, it's going to run the password through encryption, add some salt to that encrypted password as well, and then save that encrypted password to our database under the password digest attribute. So we're taking in two attributes, password and password confirmation, running it through the washing machine and getting password digest out. So that's all, that little tag handles all of that for us. Okay, that is really the basis for getting started with your phase 5 projects. I hope that helped.